Hey everybody, welcome back to my channel. Today's video is going to be a work with me through this Halloween set that I did. I'll put the inspiration pictures up on the screen, and that's pretty much it for the intro, so let's get into it. Okay, so I start out with the base from Born Pretty. I've used it before in a video. I'll put it in the link because it comes in a pack, but the shade that I'm using is JR04. Also, prior to this, I went ahead and buffed all of the nails. Lately, I've been doing the liquid etch, which is just acetone on all of the nails. I do like 2 coats of acetone just to be sure. And I tried that out on myself first before I started selling it to clients, and it worked perfectly fine. The nail polish never chipped or anything. So that's what I've been doing. But for this one, no particular reason. I just kind of like how it looks better on video when I buff the nails first. I don't know, but that's what I did with this set, and I think I did 2 coats of JR04. Now, after I finished putting the base on all of the nails, I go over it with my top coat, because after I apply the top coat, I'm gonna buff the nails so that all the shine can go away. And I don't know, I just like doing nail art on buffed nails because it makes the surface of the nails less slippery. But the top coat that I'm using is in a Beetles bottle, but it's the Koopa top coat. I love this one. I actually like it better than the Beetles polish, so I recommend it. And I get the like $60 refills, and they've lasted me a while, so I recommend them. Okay, so the next few clips will be of me just buffing the nails. I buff all 10 of the nails because I'm going to do nail art on them all, and it makes the brush kind of glide on the nails easier, because if I just leave it with the top coat, it's kind of slippery. Okay, now moving on to the nail art. You basically just draw this spider web. Kind of the base of it is the same way that you would draw the twinkle or sparkle nail design if you've ever done that. And you don't have to worry about the middle, because the middle of it is going to be covered by a heart, you'll see later. So it gets kind of thick and it bleeds into each other in the middle, but that's okay because it'll get covered. You will also see me dip my brush a bunch of times in this video. And the reason I did that was because I was trying to keep the strands of the brush as thin as I could, because the nail art that I was doing needed like kind of thinner lines. And honestly, I feel like my lines could have been thinner, but I don't think it was my fault. I think the brush is just not as thin as I need it to be. But I just keep dipping it in the paint so that it can kind of all mesh together, and I make sure that none of the brush strands are like spread out or anything. Now you're going to go in with your brush again and kind of draw U shapes connecting each of the spiderweb legs, I guess you can call them. And I dried the first few lines that I made before I drew the connecting U's, because if you don't, since the lines are so thin, they're probably going to bleed together and get mixed in with the lines that we drew at the base. So I cured the first, how many is it, like 6, 7, 8 lines that we drew first. I cured those first, and then I went in with the U's. Now is where I draw the heart in the middle. As I said earlier, it'll cover up all of the polish in the middle that bleeds together. So basically what I do is get polish on the tip of my liner brush, and I just make a V shape, and then I go back in the middle and connect it and round it out around the outer edges if I need to. My next step was to draw the blood dripping. So I do polish on the end of my liner brush, and I dab like a little dot or like an oval shape teardrop kind of anywhere on the nail, and then I draw a line going up, and I literally just connect all of those lines that I have that reach the top, and then I make a U shape, or like an upside down U shape, I guess. And that's all to the drip nail. So if it looks kind of hard to you, I promise it's not that hard. If you want a more dramatic or cartoony looking drip, just make the teardrop shape at the bottom a little bigger, and just make sure everything looks connected, like evenly connected at the top, if that makes sense. Now I'm going in with a lighter purple shade from D&D, and how I draw my pumpkins is I start out with the oval in the center. That's going to be the middle of the pumpkin and also the lowest point of the pumpkin. And then from the bottom, I guess I do like a half circle shape or like a half moon shape, and I draw the bottom of that a little bit higher than the center of the pumpkin, and then at the top I connect it, and the sides of the pumpkin reach the highest point of the pumpkin. I hope that makes sense. After you get the outline of the pumpkin, you want to fill it in. I just get some polish on my brush and just go sideways with it until all the streaks in the polish are gone. Now on this other hand, I did another type of pumpkin, which you saw in the inspo pic, and I basically drew a heart essentially, and then I did the same technique that I used for the drip nails. Okay, we'll come back to that pumpkin. On the other hand, I started another pumpkin and this one I kind of just drew a circle because the outline is going to give it the pumpkin shape anyway. So I did the same technique with the hearts for the eyes, same technique for the nose, except it's upside down. And then for the smile, I just kind of drew a curved line, and then I used my silicone tool to kind of make that tooth cutout shape in there. Now we switch to the other hand again, back to this pumpkin. I just outlined the pumpkin in black, and the outline of this is what's really going to make it look like a pumpkin. So I went in with the black from D&D, and I kind of made it thicker towards the top and the outline thinner at the bottom towards the drips. And if anybody keeps up with BTS, this pumpkin not look like the butter logo. Maybe I'm tripping, but it reminds me of BTS. Everything reminds me of BTS. But anyway, I drew the stem at the top, which is a line up, and then you kind of turn it into a triangle. Now with these lines, kind of make sure that you give them an arch so that it looks like a pumpkin shape and not just like a heart with lines going through it, if that makes sense. Here I'm outlining the light purple pumpkin. As I said earlier, the outline on this one is what's going to really give it the pumpkin shape. You want to make sure that the very center of it is kind of lower than the sides. So then I went in with 2 lines going through the eyes, and make sure that you give that an arch as well. Anything that you want to kind of have like a 3D effect, I guess, that's a circle shape, just make sure that you arch those lines so that it can look 3-dimensional. I want to reiterate that I clip my liner brushes because they are never thin enough for me. So I just take, maybe I'll do like a video on it, but I just take fingernail clippers and clip them from the sides so that they can be even thinner. This nail is of course going to end up being the GhostFace nail. The shape is really hard to explain, so I'm not going to talk through it. I'm just going to let you watch, and just make sure when you're finished you go over it with white polish and make sure that there aren't any streaks. Another outline for the GhostFace. I started out with a thin outline just to make sure I didn't get carried away and put too much black polish, but you don't have to be too careful because you're going to go over the whole thing anyway to kind of make that hood. Also, with nail art, every design doesn't have to have an outline. Really utilize the shape of your brush, because I noticed that my brush kind of made the perfect eyes for GhostFace and the lips or the mouth. I accidentally drew one of the ghosts off camera, but with the ghost shape, I just do, essentially it's 3 half ovals just going in different directions. Another important note is that I don't get all of my lines in one go. This took so many times. I don't know why it took me so long, but the outline for these two little ghosts was so hard for me. I kept having to wipe it off, but I got them in the end. And then for this nail, I did a dripping French tip. It's actually easier than it looks, because if you end up making the arch kind of too thick, you can connect it to the blood drips and it kind of just looks like it was meant to be that way. But just apply the same technique for the drips that I did earlier in the video to this French tip. And the French tip, the only really advice that I have for French tips is to just practice. When I do them, I don't always get them in one go. I don't do one line either. I always do a line on either side and then connect them in the middle. And I take my time with it. So just take your time with French tips or any kind of arches and keep practicing, and it'll come easier to you. Here, I just lined up my nails to make sure that they were even. This was probably the easiest part. I just got my dotting tool and drew a little face on the ghost. And here you can see me putting the top coat on all of my nails, because in the end I wanted them to all be matte. So to make the nail art matte, I put a top coat on first, because the matte top coat that I use I don't want to say it sucks because I like it, but it can smear the polish, especially a white or black polish, and I was not about to mess up this 2 or 3 hours of nail art, so I always do a top coat just to make sure. Now this will be the last bit. I just go over those purple hearts that I made in the beginning, because I decided I wanted to put glitter on top, so I do that. And then this is actually an acrylic glitter that I'm using. In this next clip, you'll see me wiping down the nails. I wiped them down with nail polish remover, just nail polish remover, not acetone. Please don't do that. But I see a lot of people use alcohol, but I never have alcohol on hand. I always only have nail polish remover for some reason. So I use that to just wipe off any dust. At the end of all of my nail sets, I file off the tips to give them a more clean-cut look. And that's it for this design. I put all my inspo in the beginning. It'll be posted on Instagram. Thank you so much for watching this video. Bye.